it is the 35th event hosted by Proverse in the Helena May. Thank you very much for attending and supporting literary endeavour in and encouraged from Hong Kong. Before we begin, I'm sure you'd all want to share in expressing grief at the loss of life at the ongoing Tai Po fire disaster, in offering condolences to the bereaved, support to the injured and other victims, and deep appreciation to the firefighters and other first responders, including the concerned community at large. At times like this, works on paper may seem insignificant in this practical world, but we know that the values supported and strengthened by literature, maybe even in part created by literature, inspire those who act, and that words can comfort when the time is right. I personally treasure the words of the English Romantic poet John Keats, who spoke of the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of imagination. It's a tribute to the bonding power of literary collaboration that we've received concerned messages of shock and condolence from Proverse authors and artists in the USA, New Zealand, and Ireland. Thank you, Daniel, Hayley, and Clive, and Gavin. As a small practical gesture, Proverse will make a donation to one of the funds set up to assist the victims, equivalent to the proceeds of book sales this evening. During the programme, we'll give a very brief description of the Proverse Prizes, founded in 2008. We'll launch 3 books. We'll hear from one author in person, who's feeling very nervous sitting in the front, but she needn't be nervous, we're all friends of her. And 2 by pre-recorded video. We'll announce the first, second, and third prize winners of the Proverse Poetry Prize 2025 and the semi-finalists of the Proverse Prize 2025. Later, an edited video of this event will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Do you agree that you may be shown in that video? Agree?
Yes.
Do you also agree that you may be shown, if it so happens you're on the photograph or the video, in our newsletter, YouTube, Facebook, etc.? If you don't want your face to be shown, I guess you should cover it if you see the camera is facing you. Thank you very much. Before continuing, I'd like to introduce Proverse authors present. Authors, would you please stand up and wave your hand so we can all see you? Catherine Chin. I think Catherine is probably at the back. Catherine, are you there? She's at the back. Matthew Wong Foreman. Matthew Wong Foreman. Here's Matthew. Stuart McKay. Stuart. Myself. So thank you to Catherine, Matthew, Stuart for your participation. Has anybody else come that I haven't mentioned? Another loyal Proverse author, Philip Chatting, has sent greetings and apologies from a very cold UK. This evening, we welcome a new Proverse author, Doris Ng Shu Mei. We're most grateful to the Hong Kong Arts Development Council for awarding publication support for Doris's memoir, An Inch of Time, A Happy Valley Childhood. We thank Teresa Chen, former editor Kung Kao Po, for contributing a preface to An Inch of Time. In this, Teresa considers Doris's book in relation to the Hong Kong school activity, The Literary Walk. She quotes the words of Emeritus Professor Lo Wai Lun. To love a city begins with loving an ordinary street. Teresa sees such feeling in Doris's work. Teresa writes, from her descriptions of Happy Valley and other places in Hong Kong, Doris Ng shares with us her admiration and affection for them. Teresa describes Doris's memoir further as painting a truthful, pleasant picture of daily life, both Eastern and Western. Doris, the time has come. Please come up and introduce your book to us.
This is water for me. Thank you. Can you hear me? Sorry, I have a little slack sore throat today. Good evening. Thank you for coming. I'm Doris. And then An Inch of Time is my book. My debut book, perhaps my only book. Not counting the teaching materials I compiled. I didn't intend to write a book in the beginning. As my little grandson once asked when he noticed my hand shaking a little, "Grandma, are you very old?" "Oh, yes, I am," I said. As we get old, we often recall childhood acquaintances and past events. Then my younger brother began to chat with me about the past, my childhood days, the days before he was born. My childhood days were actually simple and unadventurous, but they were made interesting by my multitude of relatives, though it was sometimes difficult to make out exactly who was who, aside from those close to us. On my father's side, I have 4 grandmas, 10 uncles, 6 aunts, and 20 cousins. On my mother's side, I have 2 grandmas, 2 uncles, 6 aunts, and 17 cousins. That's why my brother wishes to sort them out. So in my spare time, I took to recording whatever I remembered. As time went on, more and more came to mind, and I found that I had embarked on an interesting endeavor. I thought it would be worthwhile to put it all in writing, at least for my siblings who are very much younger than me. Meanwhile, I came across a few childhood memoirs set in Hong Kong and mainland China. In the book Gui Lou, Martin Booth narrates his adventurous years here in Hong Kong as a foreign child. A Shimmering Sea by Sophronia Liu and Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yan Ma describe their unhappy childhood days. But I want to present a local child story that is pleasant and delightful. I hope you enjoy the book. It's a simple and straightforward account, but I hope that anyone interested in Happy Valley, interested in post-war Hong Kong society, in Chinese culture, and the influence of Western culture on our social life, will find something useful and memorable. As the title An Inch of Time implies, it's a coincidence of time and space. Space refers to Happy Valley on Hong Kong Island, where I was born and raised. It gave me first-hand knowledge of the district that has a famous horse racing ground at its center. Some heritage sites here are St. Margaret Mary's Church, St. Paul's Catholic Primary School, and the cemeteries. Time refers to the immediate post-war years. I can remember some of our customs and traditions practiced in those days. A few are extinct, like rickshaw transport, peddlers delivering snacks, and funeral processions along the streets. Many others, like the practice of Chinese medicine, Cantonese operas, and ancestral worship, are preserved to different extents. In the midst of such background were my experiences in a kindergarten and 2 primary schools, which afforded me experience in 2 different styles of education, Chinese and Western. Pope Pius XII once remarked, during his most receptive years, the child is formed by the whole complexes of the environment. The many things heard, seen, and felt will leave their mark upon the fundamental attitude which the child will retain through his whole life. So I believe the whole complexes of my childhood environment has left its mark upon my fundamental attitude in life. I would like to thank Dr. GILLIAN Bickley for her patience and advice with publishing my book, the Hong Kong Arts Development Council for awarding me a project grant, Teresa Chan for kindly contributing the foreword. Thank you also to my sister for her helpful comments and unfailing support. She reminded me, among other things, that horse racing took place on Saturdays, not Sundays, at that time. My cousins and my aunt corrected me on the relationships of some people I mentioned in the book, and for that I'm grateful. Lastly, I hope that my family, teachers, friends, and relatives will give a nod and a smile to what I've written about them. Thank you.
Now we welcome Peter Stuckey, representing the Royal Asiatic Society of Hong Kong, and I'm presenting him with a copy of Doris's book for the Royal Asiatic Society.
Thank you.
Now, for a brief introduction to the International Proverse Prizes. The first edition of the Proverse Prize for book-length works of fiction, non-fiction, or poetry, previously unpublished in English, maybe in translation, was in 2009. The first edition of the Proverse Poetry Prize, single poems, was in 2016. My husband, Verner Bickley, and I conceived the prizes together and worked on them together. However, I clearly understand that without Verner and the space and support he gave me as his wife, together with his considerable international experience in cultural leadership, the prizes would never have come into existence and they'd never have continued as they have. I see that this was Verner's pattern throughout his life. He laid foundations, observed the individuals with whom he came into contact, unobtrusively and gradually led them to know what they would like to do, and helped them, again unobtrusively, to do it. Verner himself made enormous and significant direct contributions, including, but not limited to, in the literary field, as author, textbook writer, editor, indexer, and publisher. Some of his books are on display and available for purchase this evening. I'm so grateful that we have images of previous events and can give you a flavour of the kindness and humour that Verner brought to them. Here are some brief comments Verner made at the Autumn Reception 2017.
Well, these International Proverse Prizes are special in that they are open to everyone, at least 18 years old, at the time of submitting their entry, irrespective of nationality or residence or citizenship. That makes them somewhat special. The Proverse Prize for book-length work is in its 9th year of competition. The Proverse Poetry Prize for single poems is in its 2nd year. The International Proverse Poetry Prize, too many P's, is for poems of any genre or style no more than 30 lines long. The topic may be chosen by entrants, or they may choose the subject set by the administrators. So we have, first of all, Ivy, winner of the International Proverse Prize 2016 for her novel Cry of the Flying Rhino. Ivy has come from London to be with us tonight.
I'd like to give this to Ivy.
Thank you very much, Ivy. Hayley Ann Solomon, winner of the Proverse Supplementary Prize 2016 for her poetry collection Celestial Promise. Hayley has flown in from Nelson, New Zealand.
Thank you, Verner. Thank you to Simon Overton for the wonderful video and to Felix Wong for making the extracts for us. As you've seen, brief as they are, the clips give a good introduction to the Proverse Prizes and demonstrate their international reach and participation. For just under a decade, Verner was an education officer and one-time cultural diplomat with the British Council in Burma, Indonesia, and Japan. In Hong Kong, in various capacities, including as founding director of the Hong Kong government's Institute of Language and Education and founding chairman of the English-speaking Union Hong Kong, he had fruitful relationships with the British Council in Hong Kong. We welcome Dr. Kyle Chung, Head of Arts, British Council Hong Kong, to say a few words.
Hello. Hi everyone. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kyle Chung. I'm the Head of Arts at the British Council Hong Kong office. It is an absolute pleasure to be here this evening to represent the British Council to celebrate the launch of Proverse's latest publications and prize winners, and to congratulate the authors on their publications. I'd like to congratulate Doris Ng on her memoir, An Inch of Time, A Happy Valley Childhood, which I very much look forward to reading and finding out about life in Happy Valley in the post-war era. Doris's memoir gives us a glimpse into a way of life that in many ways is vastly different to life in Hong Kong today. But it is also pleasing to note that there are threads of continuity. As Doris mentioned just now, the horse racing, the practice of Chinese medicine, and Cantonese opera have perhaps not changed so much and would be recognizable to every generation. Doris also talks about her experiences in two very different education systems, Chinese and Western, a mix which has helped Hong Kong's unique culture and something I can relate to, as I too have been educated in both systems in Hong Kong and the UK. I'd like to also congratulate the other newly published authors whose work is being celebrated today, Gavin Burke and Hayley Ann Solomon, to all the winners of the prizes. The Proverse Prizes, which were the brainchild of Verner and GILLIAN, and are the only genuinely international prizes for unpublished work in English, which makes them vital to our cultural landscape. They are also among the most inclusive, as there are no restriction on nationality or whether your mother tongue is English. Literary prizes, especially for unpublished authors, play an important role in nurturing talent and encouraging writers to persevere. The associations between the British Council and Proverse go back many years, and of course, the late Dr. Verner Bickley worked for a number of years at the British Council in many other countries other than Hong Kong, in Singapore, Myanmar, and Japan. Verner understood the power of the English language, not only as a creative medium, but as a means of connecting people across cultures. As writers themselves, GILLIAN and Verner understood only too well the importance of the prizes they founded. Long may the prizes continue to thrive and help many more authors launch their careers. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to acknowledge Mrs. Mary Zito, a founding director of ESU Hong Kong, who worked very closely with Verner. Where are you, Mary? Thank you very much, Mary. Now we come to the results of the Proverse Poetry Prize for Single Poems 2025. First prize, Tanusha Nagrath, India. Second prize, Maria Elena Blanco, Cuba, Chile, Spain, and Austria. Third prizes, there are 4 third prizes. Joy Al-Sohi, USA, Hong Kong, Portugal. Graham Wood, UK. Gary Bermier, USA, and John Lindstroth, USA. Congratulations to Tanusha, Maria Elena, Joy, Graham, and Gary. All other winners of publication in the Proverse Poetry Prize 2025, as well as those specially mentioned, will be announced in the Proverse newsletter, whether ahead of or shortly after the launch of Mingled Voices 10, the Proverse Poetry Prize, all those P's again, the Proverse Poetry Prize Anthology 2025 at the Proverse Spring Reception 2026. We'll now hear from Tanusha Nagrath of India, first prize winner, Proverse Poetry Prize 2025.
Namaskar, my name is Tanusha and I am from India, Jaipur, Rajasthan. I am extremely grateful to Proverse Hong Kong Publications for selecting my poem, Elegy, A Gift from Those Who Have Gone, and awarding it the first prize position. This poem is truly special for me because since the time I heard the theme of this year, Elegy, I was sure that this is going to be one of the most heartfelt pieces I ever write. I have been a writer since the age of 14, and I'm the kind of writer my process involves feeling things more than thinking. It's less cerebral, more from the heart. So anything that hits home here comes on the paper. And I wrote my first poem back when I was 14 years old, and currently I'm a columnist in local regional newspapers. I'm also a columnist in Confluence, which is a magazine that gets published from London, UK. I am a voice artist, I'm a theatre artist, and I'm exploring a lot more in media freelancing. Elegy, A Gift from Those Who Have Gone is one of the most closest pieces, like I mentioned, because it talks about the loss of my father and how in the process I evolved and I found my space through my grief, through my sorrow, no matter how sublime that process was. So it is more than anything else. I think it is for the purity of the content of the poem. I think this prize has been given and the poem has been selected. And I'm extremely grateful once again to Proverse Hong Kong for selecting my poem as the first prize winning poem. And I'm looking forward to Mingled Voices 10 and the reception we have in spring at Helena May. I hope and I pray that I'm able to manage things every which way and attend the reception in spring 2026. Thank you so much, Proverse Hong Kong, Gillian, and everybody, all the panel jury who have selected my poem, Elegy, A Gift from Those Who Have Gone, because it's truly one of the most special pieces and the most heartfelt pieces I've written. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. By the way, this is an example of how the creative mind works. The optional set topic was not elegy, but the gift. So Tanusha, when she saw that, immediately her mind worked and saw that she could write an elegy to her father. For those who are interested, the optional set topic for the Proverse Poetry Prize 2026 is The Storm. Now to the semi-finalists for the Proverse Prize 2025. They are David Gams, Australia, J.P. Lindstroth, USA, Rena Ong, Singapore and UK, Hayley Ann Solomon, New Zealand and South Africa. Congratulations to all. As always, there may be supplementary, that's publication prizes, that are not announced at this time, but at their Hong Kong launch. Entry details for the two Proverse Prizes in 2026, in case any of you are thinking that you might enter, will be very similar to those for 2025. If you want early information about what to do, please visit our website, where the 2025 regulations are still present. There won't be very much difference. So that's our annual calendar. We'll now hear from two authors who won publication prizes in earlier editions of the Proverse Prize and whose books have been launched in Hong Kong this evening, Hayley Ann Solomon and Gavin Burke. Hayley first. Her book, Once Upon a Fairer Time, Classic Tales Revised in Rhyme, has been beautifully illustrated by her husband, Clive Solomon. It's been described as enchanting by Rinos Nikos Spanudes, Pretoria, South Africa. Rinos is a teacher, lecturer, award-winning playwright and actor. The completely fresh, groundbreaking take on universal stories is enchanting, he writes. Hayley herself will tell you about her new book. Hayley.
Good evening. It is an immense honor to be here with you tonight for the launch of this beautiful book, Once Upon a Fairer Time, Classic Tales Revised in Rhyme. I am grateful to Proverse Hong Kong for including me in this celebration, and I would like to thank Dr. GILLIAN Bickley for her insight, her generosity, and her tireless encouragement of writers. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge her late husband, Dr. Verner Bickley. His contribution to literature, education, and cultural exchange has been extraordinary, and it is a privilege to see my book published within a series shaped so profoundly by both their vision. Once Upon a Fairer Time, Classic Tales Revised in Rhyme is very close to my heart. As a child, I would pore over fairy tales, not just reading them, but staring for hours at the illustrations. And let me just show you some of them, just to give you an idea of how incredibly beautiful they are. I puzzled over the injustices I found there. Why should Jack be allowed to steal from a giant and then kill him? Why should a pea or a superficial beauty decide who has true nobility of heart? Why must a wolf be boiled alive when a little empathy, perhaps, might have done the trick? Rumpelstiltskin was bound by a promise. Why are we thrilled when a queen breaks her vow and the consequences fall on him? Some villains do, indeed, deserve poetic justice, but not always at the hand of sudden cruelty. Sometimes consequences should arise from a character's own machinations. When I was young, I mentally fixed these stories. I rearranged them, I nudged their logic, and I asked for kinder solutions. The little red hen makes a point, but isn't she also just a tad self-righteous? Wouldn't sharing with a lesson learned not only be kinder, but wiser? This book is a result of that lifelong impulse. I have retold 12 classic tales as an adult. Rapunzel, Goldilocks, Cinderella, all of our favorite tales, and shaped their narratives to a point where empathy matters, where kindness carries weight, and where justice is principled. Some retellings are very whimsical, no doubt about that. Some are a little darker, but all are written with the conviction that stories can grow within us. The graphic art and illustrations by Clive Solomon are the perfect complement. My words speak, and his illustrations show. His drawings bring wit, warmth, and imagination to the page. They invite children in immediately. Feathered beds, towering beanstalks, mischievous forests, and palaces. And I'm deeply grateful for his collaboration. It's a true pleasure to combine our talents in this way. These stories are at their best when read aloud. They are full of rhythm and rhyme, and a veritable tangle of tongue twisters that I hope will make families laugh aloud. Read aloud, they return to the way stories once were, shared, spoken, and alive in the moment. Ultimately, Once Upon a Fairy Time is an invitation. It invites us to revisit familiar tales with fresh eyes, to strip them of cruelty, and imbue them with poetic justice, principled paths, and a trajectory towards compromise and compassion. It is my hope that readers will laugh as merrily as the rhymes roll along, but also agree that a wolf might deserve indigestion, not death. A witch, a malfunctioning spell, her stitches unstitching to the very last twitching. And a gingerbread, of course, deserves to outfox a fox. Perhaps we cannot change the endings of the stories we were given as children, but we can choose how to tell them now. And that, I think, is its own kind of magic. I wrote this book as a child might dream it, and as an adult might wish it. If even one reader feels seen or comforted or inspired by these pages, then the story has done its work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hayley. I now have great pleasure to invite Mr. Peter Lund, Aotearoa, New Zealand, Consul General to Hong Kong and Macau, for supporting us this evening and recognising the continuing support that Proverse has given to New Zealand writers. We welcome him. Come along, Peter.
That's fine. Well, thank you, Gillian. Kia ora tātou, everyone. Look, it's a delight to be here this evening, and could I also pay tribute to Gillian and Verner for all that they've done to support writing and literary creativity here in Hong Kong. And look, I understand that New Zealand writers have had a long history of involvement in the Proverse Prizes, and I think it was the late Laura Solomon was one of your first award winners back in 2019. No, 29. But look, it's a delight tonight to see my fellow New Zealander, Hayley Ann Solomon, included. And look, I'm a big fan of revisionist and subversive takes on myths and fairy tales. In fact, this weekend, I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie Wicked for Good. You might be aware that this is a reinterpretation of the Wizard of Oz story, and that really the Wicked Witch of the West wasn't really so wicked. And perhaps she was a victim of state propaganda, demonization and racism, because she's green. And of course, the Wicked has been a huge success. This is the second film. It's based on the Broadway musical, which was based on the novel by Gregory Maguire. And look, earlier this year I was in London and I saw the film Hadestown, which is also a modern interpretation of the Orpheus and Eurydice and Hades and Persephone myth. So I think that Hayley Ann is mining a very potent, channeling a very potent legacy there, taking on and subverting these stories. So it's a great pleasure to be here tonight, and thank you for the opportunity. Kia ora. Yes.
Now to Gavin Burke and his first poetry collection, After Hemlock. Gavin has mentioned, appropriately and charmingly, that in his video he's wearing a mechanical, mid-century Hong Kong watch, which he acquired recently, as it's Hong Kong time that it will be launched in. Shreya Mishra, writer, editor, and podcast host, reacted to After Hemlock like this. Gavin Burke's writing holds heartbreak and humour in the same breath, and somehow makes it look easy. Knew you were good, Gavin. Didn't know you were this good. Gavin.
Hello to everybody in attendance tonight, whether in person or watching on YouTube. Greetings also to all of those who will be watching over time as a recording. I am Gavin Burke from Ireland, and this evening, 28th November 2025, my first full academic collection of poetry entitled After Hemlock is being launched. I am most grateful to the judges who recommended publication as a supplementary prize in the Proverse Prize 2022 competition. After Hemlock, a collection of formal and informal poetry, epic poetry and prose poetry, was entirely written during the second half of 2021 and the early part of 2022. At the time, I was writing most days, for short periods, including the time spent on public transport. As a result of this, and the fact that the book includes almost all the work I produced during a 10-month period, the time and space within which it was written seemed to form a connective tissue between the individual poems, with the poem After Hemlock forming the centerpiece. With any book-length manuscript, I like to have one poem in the collection around which the other poetry rotates. The central poem is composed of the majority of the subject matter and the elements of the other poems. After Hemlock makes for somewhat of a challenging read, as much of it is written in an instinctual stream of consciousness style, where the pace feels fast, even a little breathless at times. With very little in terms of a window to pause and reflect before the end of each poem, almost as if the reader is being driven at speed. 3 years after writing this, it is useful for me to consider this body of work as the point at which I felt I was beginning to improve beyond what I thought I would be able to do or produce. I can see in the collection the ways in which I was thinking at the time, and that I was aiming for an impressionistic reflection, almost a representation of my realities of the time. The poems have a searing, visceral force, no matter the subject, giving, as a whole, an everyday perspective on ordinary city life. I wanted to create a collection of work with few specifics, so that the collage of questions, observations, and impressions could strive for some kind of universal distillation of contemporary truth relating to both inner and outer life. My hope for the book is that readers will see it as an important moment in my writing journey, a leap forward in terms of what it is possible for me to do and say with words. I would like to sincerely thank Dr. GILLIAN Bickley for her support and encouragement of my writing over the past few years and for this great opportunity. I would also like to pay tribute to the kindness and encouragement which Gillian's late husband, Dr. Verner Bickley, has given me over the years also. May the great man rest in peace. Finally, I would like to thank my wife Anne-Marie for her support and encouragement, my father John, and my brother also John, and my sister Maria. This has not been an easy year for me, as my mother Catherine Burke passed away in March of this year, sadly. My mother was always very supportive of anything creative that I did, which made pursuing creative hobbies all the easier. I hope she will be pleased that after 10 years of writing, I am beginning to make some progress, though I am well aware that there is still a long way to go yet.
Thank you very much, Gavin. We now welcome Sally O'Reilly, Deputy Consul General for Ireland in Hong Kong and Macau, and invite her to say a few words. Sally. Be very careful about the wires.
Thank you, Dr. Gillian, and good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Consulate General of Ireland to Hong Kong tonight. I also want to acknowledge the tragic fire that took place in Taipo early this week, and we extend our condolences to those who were affected and pay tribute to those who have departed. I also want to pay tribute to Dr. Verner Bickley, co-founder of the International Proverse Prizes, who passed away early this year, and without whom we wouldn't be here tonight. May you rest in peace. My congratulations, of course, to Gavin Burke on the launch of his first poetry collection, After Hemlock, and who has long been involved with the Proverse Poetry Prize, so I'm delighted we can all be here to witness this monumental achievement. As many of you will know, Ireland has a long celebrated history of storytelling and the written word, and our tradition of storytelling and rich history make good fodder for literary exploration. Some of the world's most celebrated poets come from Ireland. Familiar names such as James Heaney, William Butler Yeats, and Samuel Beckett, who will celebrate his 120th birthday next year. In fact, every year on June 16th, Ireland, together with its embassies and consulates around the world, celebrates another poet and novelist, James Joyce, whose face graces the cover of After Hemlock. Bloomsday and Beyond is held every year to recognise not only James Joyce's revolutionary storytelling and the impact Ulysses has had on literature, but also to celebrate the Irish writers who came before and after him. This year, the Consulate partnered with Bookazine for an exhibition on James Joyce and gave away books for by Irish authors to lucky passers-by to join in a global celebration of Irish literature. While we honour the literary giants, we must also recognise the contemporary voices, such as Gavin's and the others gathered here today, who continue to remind us of the power and impact of the written word as a means to shine a light and reflect society back to us. So congratulations again to Gavin and to the winners on this important milestone, and I thank you again for the invitation.
This is what she's talking about. Thank you to everyone who's spoken, whether by pre-recorded video or live this evening. Doris, Verner, Kyle, Tanusha, Hayley, Peter, Gavin, Cy. Now it's the turn of each of you who've participated so far by listening. Would any of you like to make a comment or ask a question? Perhaps of Doris about her book. Anybody want to say anything? Going later. Perhaps you prefer to talk to Doris quietly over another drink and something to eat. So, this is the Hong Kong style. We all know that. We ask people to comment. Nobody comments. But if I didn't ask you, you would complain, right? So honour has been satisfied. I'd now like to thank the Helena May management and staff, the volunteers, Joyce Liu and Marigold Jabanetti, the student helpers from the Hong Kong College of Technology, and their teacher, Mr. Daniel Choi, whose help has been, I couldn't have managed without him. Thank you very much, Daniel. And the video maker, Felix Wong, and all those, including Polly, who are taking photos. If you take a photo, could you please send it to me afterwards so I can add it to the archive? Today, the 28th of November 2025, is the 40th anniversary of when I met Verner. I wouldn't have known the significance of the meeting at the time or made a note, but I bought a book at that event, and it contains the author's signature and date. That's a lesson to all of us. Please continue to browse and purchase books for your own reading and gifts to family and friends. You never know when a signed book will be an important memory for each of you. So, thank you all very much for coming. We have the room quite a bit longer. We have more drinks, more things to eat. Please enjoy yourselves and enjoy each other. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Thank you.